That was the day I stopped being a husband and started being a father, full-time. My name is Derek. I'm 38 years old. I live in Rocklin, California, just outside Sacramento. I used to think I had a good life, modest home, steady work, a wife, and a 9-year-old son who still thought I hung the moon. I was wrong. So wrong. I came downstairs in my boxers because I'd heard the front door open. At first, I thought maybe it was a package being dropped off early or a neighbor needing something. But when I got to the bottom step, there she was. Dana, my wife of 12 years, sipping up a large suitcase like she was catching a flight. "What are you doing?" I asked, voice dry from sleep. She didn't even blink. "I'm taking Bentley. You can keep Tyler." She stood up, hoisting the handle of the suitcase, calm like this was something she'd said out loud before, maybe even rehearsed. I stared at her, trying to process the words. "Wait, what?" My mouth felt slow, like my brain couldn't catch up. Bentley was our black lab. Well, technically he was mine. I'd had him since before Tyler was born. Before Dana even. He used to sleep on the foot of my bed, wait by the bathroom door for me to finish brushing my teeth. He was family. Dana didn't answer. She walked straight past me, suitcase in one hand, Bentley's leash in the other. He trotted after her, tail wagging like nothing was wrong. Then came the dagger. Marlene, Dana's mother. She stood by the door with that smug little smile she always wore when she thought she'd won something. She looked me up and down, barely hiding her amusement. "Well," she said, "at least the dog doesn't whine." They both laughed. Just walked right out of my house laughing like being a full-time dad was some kind of joke. Like I was the punchline. I stood there, heart-thudding, frozen. "Tyler." I turned and ran upstairs. His door was cracked open. He sat on his bed, blanket pulled up to his chest. He must have heard. He didn't say anything, just looked at me with these wide, scared eyes like he needed me to make sense of it all. I sat beside him and put my hand on his back. He didn't cry. Not then. He just whispered, "She took Bentley." I nodded. She didn't say goodbye. I swallowed the lump in my throat and said, "I know, buddy. I know." We sat like that for a long time. I kept thinking maybe Dana would turn around, that the door would open again and this would all be some horrible misunderstanding. But it didn't. She left like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. Like Tyler was a piece of furniture she didn't want to ship. I could have fought for the dog. God knows I wanted to. I wanted to scream at her, yank that leash from her hand, tell her Bentley was mine and always had been. But I didn't. Because Tyler was still sitting upstairs on his bed, staring at the door like maybe it would tell him why his mom had just vanished without even a hug. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't just a breakup. It wasn't just a bad fight or some we need space thing. This was a war. And the battleground wasn't custody or assets or who got the nicer dishes. It was my son. His heart. His trust. His future. So no, I didn't chase after her for the dog. I stayed for my boy. The first morning after Dana left, Tyler sat at the table and stared at his cereal like it might say something to him. He didn't cry. He didn't talk. He just pushed his spoon in little circles while the frosted flakes got soggy. I tried. God, I tried. I flipped pancakes with extra chocolate chips the way he used to like. I queued up all the old superhero cartoons, the good ones, the ones before everything got rebooted. I even let him sleep in my bed that night when he came in saying he had a stomachache. He didn't, not really. It was just the silence sitting heavy in his chest. He used to ask a million questions every morning. I used to joke that he woke up with a quiz in his head. Do sharks sleep with their eyes open? Why don't volcanoes have doors? If lightning hits the ocean, do all the fish get electrocuted? Now he didn't say anything. He just drew. Robots. Spaceships. Dinosaurs with jetpacks. And always, always Bentley. The dog was everywhere, wearing a cape, flying through the clouds, saving cities from alien blobs. Sometimes Tyler added me in the pictures. A stick figure with brown hair and a smile. I tried to smile like that in real life, but it didn't come easy. Our place wasn't much. A 2-bedroom duplex off the freeway next to a Shell station and a dentist's office with flickering neon teeth in the window. But I made it ours. I strung up blue LED lights in Tyler's room, the soft kind that made the walls glow like we were underwater. I printed out a poster of Mars and taped it over the crack in the drywall. He said he liked it, called it his portal. I worked nights from home doing auto parts logistics. Basically scheduling truck routes and deliveries for a company that barely paid me enough to breathe. But it kept the lights on and more importantly, it kept me close to Tyler. I couldn't bear the thought of him waking up and I wasn't there. Some nights, I'd wake up to the sound of him crying in his sleep. Not loud. Just little hiccup sobs, the kind you get when your brain's too tired to scream. I'd pull him close, whisper something about dreams not being real, and feel his heartbeat settle against my chest. I miss Bentley too. That dog had been with me through everything: breakups, layoffs, the day Tyler was born. He was there the first time I changed a diaper, whining at the door like he wanted to help. But now he was gone and I wasn't even allowed to miss him out loud. Still, it wasn't the dog that broke me. It wasn't Dana walking out without looking back. It was watching my kid, my loud, curious, wild little boy, go quiet, shrinking into himself like the world had gotten too loud and he didn't know how to be part of it anymore. That was when I realized Tyler didn't just miss Bentley. He missed the version of me that used to smile. People used to tell me how lucky I was to be married to Dana. She's so charming, they'd say. Total catch. Even her mom, Marlene, would lean in with that syrupy smile and say things like, "You're lucky she tolerates your moods, dear." Back then, I thought maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I did talk too little at dinner or get too flustered at parties. I figured in-laws were just like that. I told myself it was normal. It wasn't. Dana didn't just run the household, she controlled it. What we ate, when we went to bed, the thermostat setting, the grocery list, the vacations, or lack of them. Everything was hers to decide. She made it look like teamwork to the outside world, but inside those walls? It was her show and I was just the stand-in. When Tyler got sick once, just a cold, I made him soup, sat beside him with a cool washcloth and let him sleep on the couch so I could keep an eye on him. Dana came home, took one look at the blanket and said, "You baby him too much. He's not going to survive the world like that." I remember blinking at her, thinking, he's 7. He's got a runny nose. What world do you think he's supposed to be surviving right now? But I didn't argue. That's the thing about Dana. She had a way of shutting you down without ever raising her voice. Every criticism sounded like concern. Every dig was just being honest. She didn't yell. She didn't need to. She chipped away at you like water on stone, slow, constant, quiet. When I finally tried to leave the first time 3 years ago, I couldn't even get the words out. I had packed a duffel bag, nothing dramatic, just enough to clear my head for a few days. When I told her I needed space, she didn't get angry. She got strategic. The next morning, half our friends knew I was struggling with my mental health. Marlene came by with a tray of banana bread and a pitying look. Dana made sure people believed I was unstable, overwhelmed, possibly depressed. That maybe I wasn't safe to be alone with Tyler. She smiled while she said it too. But Tyler knew. He watched everything. He saw how I paused mid-sentence when Dana walked into the room, how my voice changed. How I stopped laughing at my own dumb dad jokes. He saw me shrink. One night, I accidentally knocked over a glass of water at the dinner table. Dana didn't yell. She just sighed and said, "Honestly, how do you even function at work?" It was nothing, just a comment. But it cut so deep I felt my ears burn. I glanced at Tyler. He wasn't looking at the spill. He was looking at me. Like he was trying to figure out if I was going to cry. I didn't. But I wanted to. Later that night, I found one of his drawings tucked under his pillow. It was a picture of our house, me, Tyler, and Bentley out front. Dana wasn't in it. I asked him why. He just shrugged and said, "She's probably at Grandma's." That was the moment I knew Tyler saw everything. The good, the bad, the things people thought they could hide. The final straw didn't come with shouting or slammed doors. It came one afternoon when Dana came home, glanced at my unpaid mechanic invoice on the kitchen counter, and said, "You really think this is contributing?" Then she laughed. It wasn't the insult. It was that Tyler was standing right there when she said it, and he didn't laugh. He just looked at me. And that look said everything. The first court meeting was in a bland office that smelled like old printer ink and fake lemon disinfectant. There was a fake fern by the window and a clock that ticked too loudly. Dana showed up in a sharp navy blazer like she was about to pitch a startup. Marlene waited outside in the lobby with a Tupperware of banana bread, playing the supportive mother act so hard it made my teeth hurt. We sat across from each other at a polished table with a mediator between us. I'd been warned not to expect justice. Just neutrality. What I didn't expect was the script Dana brought. She talked about shared custody, like it was always the plan. Like she'd been FaceTiming Tyler every night. Like she was still his bedtime story voice. Truth was, she hadn't called him once. Not a single check-in, not even a house school. Since the day she left with the dog. "I just want what's best for my son," she said smoothly, tucking her hair behind her ear like she was doing an ad for shampoo. "He needs both of his parents." I leaned forward. "You haven't even asked how he's doing." Dana turned to the mediator. Lips curled into something between pity and superiority. "I'm his mother. as if that word was a trump card. I looked down at the folder in my lap. Notes I'd started keeping, dates, missed calls, quotes Tyler had repeated. I hadn't wanted to weaponize them, but suddenly I realized that's exactly what Dana was doing. Rewriting history. Not because she missed Tyler. Not because she wanted to be a parent. But because control wasn't something she could let go of. Marlene's notes started showing up not long after that meeting. Little scraps tucked into Tyler's backpack after weekend drop-ins. "He looks bloated," one said. "Maybe cut back on the processed food?" Another read, "He seems too coddled. Boys need structure." Structure. Like humiliation at breakfast? Like watching your mom leave without a word? I started locking the backpack. Marlene started showing up at school anyway. Accidentally running into Tyler at pickup, telling the receptionist she was dropping off a forgotten jacket. He didn't even own the jacket. Then came the questions. "Why does Mom say I'm not allowed to love you?" Tyler asked one night, sitting cross-legged on the living room carpet, a robot half-built between us. He didn't look up, just kept twisting the arm onto the plastic torso like it didn't hurt to ask that out loud. I swallowed hard. "You can love whoever you want. That's not up to her." He nodded slowly. "But she said I'm confused. That you're turning me against her." I didn't answer right away. What was I supposed to say? "No. Your mom's just trying to win a performance battle with no audience." I didn't want to poison him against her. I just wanted him to know he wasn't crazy. So I said, "You're not confused. You see things clearly. And that's a good thing." He put down the robot arm and finally looked at me. "I told her I like it better here." She didn't say anything. That was when I knew Dana wasn't trying to rebuild anything. She was just trying to save face. Trying to keep her record clean. Like if she said the word mother enough, it would erase all the silence in between. This wasn't about parenting. It was about image. And Tyler was starting to see that for himself. It was a Tuesday night. Nothing special. Just the two of us eating microwave mac and cheese and watching a cartoon about a raccoon in space. Tyler had just started laughing again. The kind that slipped out before he realized it, soft and sudden and real. That laugh had been gone a while. I'd missed it. He was curled up on the couch, his tablet resting on his knees. I was halfway through washing the dishes when he said, "Dad." I turned, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "Can you read this?" he asked, holding out the tablet. The look on his face stopped me cold. Not scared, not sad, just blank, like he didn't know how to feel. I sat beside him and took the tablet. It was open to a group text thread. One Dana must have meant to send to Marlene or one of her friends, but she'd added Tyler by mistake. There were 3 messages. "Dana, once I get him back, I'll toughen him up. He's too soft, just like his dad. Dana, he needs to stop clinging to Derek. It's pathetic. Dana, can't wait to be done with that whiny brat and have a real life again." I didn't speak. My brain short-circuited for a second, reading those words over and over, not wanting them to be real. Tyler's voice broke the silence. "Is it my fault she doesn't want me?" It hit like a punch in the throat. I turned to him. His shoulders were stiff, jaw tight, but his eyes were glossy. Not quite crying, not yet, just bracing for it. "Hey," I said gently, "look at me." He did. "You are perfect," I said. "You hear me? You are kind and smart and strong. And anyone who can't see that is the one who's broken. Not you." He looked down at his hands. I placed the tablet on the table, face down, like I couldn't stand it looking back at me. My fingers were shaking, but I kept my voice calm. "She said I'm like you," he whispered. "Like that's a bad thing." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. "If you're like me," I said, "then I'm proud. Because I'm proud of you. Every single day." He nodded, slowly, but I could see something shift in him. A flicker of understanding that wasn't supposed to live in a 9-year-old's eyes. That night I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table long after Tyler had curled up in my bed. I stared at the tablet screen until the text burned into my brain. She called her own son a whiny brat. Said she wanted a real life. And now I had proof. It wasn't just emotional damage anymore. It was evidence. The next morning, I backed up everything. Screenshots, message logs, timestamps. I printed copies and stashed them in a folder with all the others. Drawings, dates, a list of times she missed phone calls or bailed on visits. I called my lawyer. That night, when Tyler came out of the shower, he found me at the table, papers spread out in front of me. "What are you doing?" he asked, towel draped over his shoulders. I looked up at him and said, "I'm getting ready." "For what?" I smiled, but it wasn't the soft kind. It was the kind that came with grit. To fight. Because this time we weren't just surviving. We were preparing. I took screenshots of the texts, backed them up to 3 drives, printed hard copies, filed them in a manila folder and locked them in my desk. Then I called my lawyer, Brent. A quiet guy with an old-school briefcase and the kind of eyes that didn't flinch when you told him the worst parts of your story. "This is good," he said, flipping through the pages. "Really good. Does it change anything?" I asked. He tapped a finger on the last message, the one where Dana called Tyler a whiny brat. "It gives us leverage," he said. "It gives the judge something no one can spin." I nodded, not sure whether to feel relieved or sick. We started building the timeline. Every missed call, every broken promise, every time Dana said she was coming and didn't. I pulled together old voicemails, receipts from therapy copays, calendar entries showing Tyler's visits that never happened. The picture it painted was messy, but honest. And then came the hard part. Brent brought it up gently. "We could ask for Tyler to speak." I froze. "In court. It's rare, but at his age, if he's willing, it could carry weight." I sat with that for a long time. I didn't want him in the middle of this mess. He was already living it. I didn't want him reliving it under oath. But that night, when I brought it up, Tyler didn't hesitate. "You always tell me to speak up when something's wrong," he said, sitting on the couch with his knees pulled to his chest. "I know," I said carefully, "but this would be a lot. In front of strangers." He looked down. "But they need to know." So we practiced. Not coaching, just the truth. We went through what a judge might ask. I told him he didn't have to say anything he wasn't ready to. But Tyler was clear. "I just want them to know what it's like," he said. "When she says nice things in front of people but then doesn't call for 2 weeks." He wasn't angry when he said it. That was what broke me. He was just tired. Meanwhile, Marlene was everywhere. She started showing up at Tyler's school. Not to pick him up, just to lurk. She brought cupcakes to the front office one day with a note that said, "Grandma loves you. Don't believe the lies." Another time, she handed Tyler a folded envelope outside the gym. He brought it home without opening it. Inside, in careful cursive, was one line, "Your dad's just confused. You'll understand when you're older." I sat with Tyler on his bed that night, reading it together. "Do you want to talk about it?" I asked. He shook his head. "She doesn't get to confuse me," he said quietly. "I'm not confused." And he wasn't. This wasn't the part where we yelled or made speeches. It wasn't about proving who had more love or better snacks or cleaner laundry. It was about one kid telling the truth, and 2 people who were done playing defense. We weren't throwing punches. We were building a case. Quietly, steadily, brick by brick. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not freezing, but sterile, like the air had been scrubbed clean of warmth. The kind of place where everything echoed, even your thoughts. Tyler sat next to me in his red sneakers, legs swinging just above the floor. He picked those shoes on purpose. Said they made him brave. Dana sat on the other side with her lawyer, a sleek woman in heels that clicked like a metronome. Dana wore a pale pink blouse, soft makeup, hair tucked behind her ears. She looked like a Hallmark ad for concerned motherhood. When the hearing began, her lawyer painted a picture so glossy I could practically see the airbrushing. Dana had always been present, involved, nurturing. Shared custody made the most sense for stability. The lawyer used that word a lot. Stability. I didn't say anything. Neither did Brent, not yet. We just let the script run. Then it was our turn. Brent stood slowly and said, "Your Honor, We'd like to request permission for the minor to speak. Dana's lawyer stiffened. Objection. He's only 9. This is emotionally coercive. But the judge, a woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, held up a hand. I'll allow it. But only if the child is willing. She looked at Tyler. Are you sure you want to do this, young man? Tyler looked at me. I didn't nod. I didn't smile. I just looked back at him with every ounce of steady I had. He stood up. His sneakers squeaked a little on the floor. The courtroom went dead quiet as he walked up to the little witness chair. He sat, legs dangling, hands clenched around a spiral notebook. The judge gave a soft smile. Whenever you're ready. Tyler opened his notebook and cleared his throat. My name is Tyler, he started. And I know I'm not a grown-up. But I still know stuff. The judge's lips twitched almost a smile. I know my mom says I'm confused. But I'm not. I know what it feels like when someone loves you. And I know what it feels like when someone's just pretending. Dana shifted. Her lawyer whispered something, but Dana didn't move. Tyler flipped a page. My mom doesn't cry all the time. She's strong. She's not sick. She just doesn't like being around me unless someone's watching. And when she's not watching, she says mean things. He held up the tablet. I got messages. She said I'm a brat. That I'm soft. That I'm like my dad, and that's bad. My throat tightened. I like being like my dad. He looked at me for just a second. I didn't breathe. He makes pancakes when I'm sad. He lets me sleep in his bed when I have nightmares. He doesn't lie to people. Even when it's hard. Dana's lawyer stood. Your Honor. The judge cut her off. Let the boy finish. Tyler took a breath. I'm not trying to be mean. I just want to live somewhere I feel safe. That was it. The silence that followed felt like a held breath. Dana's lawyer stood again, more urgently this time. We request a recess to a. No, the judge said firmly. We continue. Dana was frozen. Her face hadn't changed. But her eyes, she knew. There was no coming back from what had just been said. Not in front of a judge. Not in front of a notebook written in 9-year-old handwriting with tiny smudges from his fingers. Tyler stepped down, quietly handed his notebook to the bailiff, and came back to sit beside me. I didn't hug him. Didn't ruffle his hair. I just held his hand under the table and he squeezed it once. The rest of the hearing blurred. The judge reviewed the texts, the timeline, the contradictions between Dana's story and reality. Brent spoke with calm precision. Dana never took the stand. She didn't need to. Tyler already had. One boy's honesty had dismantled a whole performance. And the truth had finally spoken loud enough for the court to hear. The judge didn't wait long. A week later, we were back in the courtroom. Same fake wood paneling. Same pale lighting. But everything felt heavier now. Like the walls themselves knew the truth and were just waiting to hear it out loud. Dana sat with her lawyer, perfectly composed in another pastel blouse. Marlene wasn't there. Maybe someone finally told her banana bread wouldn't fix this. The judge shuffled her papers, then looked up at both sides. I've reviewed the testimony, the submitted evidence, and the communications provided, she said. In the interest of the child's emotional well-being and based on his clearly expressed wishes, I am granting full physical and legal custody to the father. I didn't move. Tyler, sitting beside me, blinked twice and then stared down at his hands. The judge continued, the mother will have supervised visitation contingent on participation in counseling and periodic review. This arrangement is to be revisited no sooner than 6 months from today. Dana didn't object. She didn't flinch. She just sat there, hands folded in her lap like she wasn't the subject of the ruling. When it was over, she stood, gathered her things, and walked out of the courtroom without saying a single word. No protest. No pleading. No scene. Just silence. Marlene didn't storm in with a speech. No one cried or demanded a redo. The whole show ended without applause. It was like the curtain fell on a play no one wanted to see again. On the way to the car, Tyler looked up at me and asked, "Can we get pancakes?" "Yeah," I said, ruffling his hair. "Let's do it." We went to a little diner down the street, one of those places with sticky menus and paper placemats you can color on. Tyler ordered a short stack with strawberries. I got coffee and just stared at him while he poured syrup like he was fixing the world. 2 weeks later, the paperwork came in the mail. Stamped. Final. Done. And Dana? She vanished. No appeals. No follow-ups. No surprise visits or angry voicemails. Just nothing. She didn't call on Tyler's birthday. Didn't send a card. She ghosted her own son like a failed job interview. At first, I kept waiting for her to reappear. I thought maybe she'd show up one day, demanding another chance, spinning some new story. But she didn't. Tyler started sleeping through the night. No more curling up next to me whispering about bad dreams. He drew again dragons, robots, spaceships. But no more dogs with capes. He laughed more, ate more, talked more. And slowly, so did I. There wasn't a single moment when I knew we were healing. No dramatic sunrise or movie-worthy monologue. Just quiet breakfasts, warm laundry, trips to the park. Little things. One day, I caught Tyler watching cartoons, giggling with his legs kicked up on the couch like a regular kid. And I realized we were okay. We didn't win anything flashy. There were no trophies, no parades. But we got peace. And that felt like everything. Life didn't bounce back, it rebuilt itself, slow and steady. After the court stuff settled, I picked up more clients for my logistics gig. Small companies at first, tire shops, warehouse distributors, then a few steady contracts rolled in. I didn't get rich, but for the first time I started saving. Not just for bills. For real things. I opened a savings account for Tyler labeled soccer camp. Every month I'd put in a little, sometimes $20, sometimes more, and we'd check the balance together like we were guarding treasure. I told him if the number got high enough, maybe we'd even go to Disney someday. Real Disney? He asked, eyes wide. Real Disney, I said, smiling. At school, Tyler started joining clubs again. He signed up for an after-school science program and came home buzzing about a volcano experiment that almost set off the smoke detector. I started sleeping better too. Waking up without that pit in my chest. I'd forgotten what that felt like. One Friday, I joined a local dads group, just a bunch of guys who'd been through hell and were trying to raise their kids the best they could. We met in the back of a coffee shop, swapping stories over lukewarm coffee and grocery store muffins. That first night, I barely spoke. Just listened. And it hit me, I wasn't the only one. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't broken. I was just a dad who stayed. Tyler made a comic strip for school one day. I found it taped to the fridge the next morning. It was drawn in marker and pencil, 6 messy panels of a superhero named Dad-An. Dad-An fought off evil lawyers, wrestled sadness monsters, and flew through fire to protect Kid Lightyear. In the last panel, Dad-An was sitting on a couch eating cereal with Kid Lightyear under a blanket. The caption read, "And they were safe." And that was enough. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever take Dana back to court. If I'd fight for back child support or go after supervised visit violations. I don't think I need to. She's gone. Not just physically, but in every way that counts. And Tyler's no longer looking for her in the crowd. I don't hate her. That's the part that surprises people the most. I just don't carry her anymore. Some victories don't come with trophies or applause. Sometimes they come in red sneakers, robot drawings, and cereal breakfasts where nobody's crying. Sometimes peace is the prize. And this life, this quiet, weird, patched-together life is ours.